We are live. Thank you for joining us. My name is Brother Greg, aka The Real Gila. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. And then we're also going to be live a little bit later on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, all of it. Pandora. And I believe Sirius XM. I haven't quite figured out if it's going to actually launch on there or I'm not sure. So yeah, we're excited and we're going to be with you guys for a little bit. And before we get into the intro, today's episode is brought to you by Arkon Mounts. For those of you that have been with me since day one, you know that they are like the premier mounting solutions, whether you are a content creator, if you're an airline pilot, maybe you're a gig driver, you do the side hustle, not YouTube, what was I going to say? DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates, you do all those things for your weekend side hustles. They've got the mounting solutions for you, whether it's cell phones, iPads. You could be a professional photographer, or maybe you're one of those action video creators. You're like the Green Man reports on X. Well, you want to go to arkon.com, get yourself a sturdy, robust, reliable tripod, different various mounting solutions. They also have equipment for airline pilots. So if you're one of those guys that likes to do those barrel roll flips, you're one of those United Airlines pilots, you know, like go to arkon.com. Okay, I'll shut up because I'll be selling all kinds of weird stuff. So promo code is Hawaii, and they'll give you 20% off your entire order. That's at arkon.com. And that's it for the Arkon. Today we're going to talk about, does it all end with you? And we're going to talk about the importance or the value of generational impact and what it really means. Are you living generational? Are you living past yourself, or does it just end with you? Our prayer and our belief, and we hope that it doesn't. And in the book of Deuteronomy, it talks about how God blesses the generations, up to 1,000 generations. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we get started. So anyways, let's play our fancy video intro. Today's episode is Does It All End With You? And we'll be back in 48 seconds. You're watching Glow Sessions Live. Deuteronomy 7 says that the Lord is faithful. I'll read it, so I'll get it verbatim. It says that, know therefore that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. If you guys are familiar with, let me take this banner off. I'm not selling Arkon anymore. But if you're familiar with Carrie Job, she's an amazing singer, worship leader. And one of the songs she got famous for was The Blessing. And I don't think she wrote it by herself. I think she wrote it with her husband. And I want to say Stephen Furtick. I think he's one of the writers on that song. But it's a powerful song. I'm trying to fix my camera. But it talks about being blessed and blessing the Lord and how he blesses you to the third and fourth generations. And how he's with you, beside you, all around you. And here's as a word of encouragement for anybody that might feel like maybe it does end with you. Well, we're going to encourage you today, and we're going to give you hopefully some tools and some gold nuggets that will I don't know, maybe it'll encourage you to start looking outside of yourself. And it doesn't necessarily mean bloodline. We're definitely going to talk about that. It's a natural thing. Yeah, I'll turn your mic off. It's kind of natural for us to talk about bloodline. Yeah.
Yep.
So, you ready for Cam?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if you guys haven't met my wife, this is my wife Emily, my beautiful wife, and we'll be this will be this is our 26th year together in just a couple of months. It's a long time. We've been together a long time. You're hot. Before we get into it, hello everybody. If you're just joining, as we say in Hawaii, aloha mai kako, or aloha. What time is it in Hawaii? It's morning. No, it's afternoon.
Afternoon.
No, it's morning in Hawaii still.
So it's aloha kakayaka.
To my Russian friends, privyet, and then to my friends in the what is the marhaba? Well, what country is that? Turkey. If you're in Turkey, marhaba. To my Korean ohana, who is annyeonghaseyo. To our Japanese family, konnichiwa or ohayo gozaimasu. I don't know what time it is. What else we got? You can do the Polynesians. That's you, honey. Do the Polynesians.
The Polynesians.
Yeah.
In Maori, we say kia ora. In Tongan, it's malo elele.
Malo elele.
In Fijian, it's bula vinaka. And in Samoan, it's talofa.
Yeah, if it's to an elder, you would say talofa lava. They're like respectful. And if you're in Texas, hello y'all. Or if you're in Australia,
hey y'all.
You're in Australia, good day, mate. Yeah, there's a lot of before we went live, I was just being transparent. One of the tough things about going live is just getting in that right frame of mind. And my wife and I, we were kind of, well, I don't know if she was, I was like going back and forth, making sure that, hey, we're about to go live. This is important. I was watching this Green Man video. For people that don't know Green Man, you got to look him up. He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy. I don't know if he's a family guy. He says he has 17 fake children that he does. I don't know. I forgot how he framed it. But anyways, what was I going to say about him?
Children.
Yeah. He's a comedian. So, but he writes really well. Some of the stuff is not for children, but the comedic value is pretty good. And my point I'm getting at is that I just told him how much I appreciate his craft, or his what do you call that? His work, right? And because it's not easy. It's like what's her name? Passion. Passion. Is that her real name?
I think that's her real name is Passion.
She's gotta have Filipino if that's her real name. I know she's Portuguese, but
no, yeah, because one of the videos where she was talking about, I know I look haole, yeah, but I promise you, I am Hawaiian. Well, I can speak Pidgin.
But her name suggests Filipino.
Yeah. So she goes, here, let me show you right here, and she gonna put on a video of her auntie, and her auntie looked Filipino. But just more action, the way she was talking, it was so funny.
She's good. For people that don't know, Passion Santos, yeah. She's a comedian in Hawaii, and I don't think she started out. I don't know if she started out as a comedian. I think she just had a regular day job, and she just got famous for making videos on Instagram. She's from Hawaii, but
they get all the jokes.
Some of her stuff is not family friendly, but being from Hawaii, it means a lot to us to see that stuff, because it is important, the culture aspect.
Yeah, but she definitely the whole culture aspect is funny. She's super funny.
What was I going to say? Well, she's good because she writes. A lot of people don't this is what I was going to get at. People don't realize to click the live button, it's either you want to do it, and I know sometimes I just do it because I need to keep the honesty of the time frame, the consistency, right? And then putting these out on Spotify, because there are people that look forward to getting a conversation, whether it's good content. That I think doing these, it's real.
Or if they like controversy.
We don't do controversy. We don't really do. If anything, I might, but I think people need to see that. Well, not need, but there are people. Well, maybe they do, but there are some people that they look forward to that, and so it's not easy for people like Green Man, Passion Santos, even what we're doing to. I hate to make it like it's a job because it's not like we don't have the big dollars rolling in, and so, but it is important to put this stuff out because one is it's real and it's obviously it's godly the way we're doing it, right? And we believe this is where God has us, and it has to be. The thing you put in my heart is the generational aspect, right? There has to be something generational in our thinking. And that's why the question, right? Does it end with you? And
yes and no. It ends with me, and it also begins with me.
So what ends with you?
The generational rebellion.
Moment of transparency, family. The reason why I didn't do my cooking show as scheduled the other day was because of what my wife said. We had to repent. Word of encouragement for parents. If you're having problems with your kids, what do, honey?
They reflect you 100%. It's funny because...
No. What? Okay, let me say it again. If parents are having struggle with the kids, what do the parents need to do?
Repent. Because that's what I said. I was like, you know what? We need to repent.
Yeah, but what did I say? I already repented last night. Yeah. Why I gotta repent again today?
But it's funny because your children is a direct reflection of you, whether you like it or not.
Even if you don't raise them.
Yeah, even if you don't raise them. There are generational things that come through the bloodline that you carry, that you pass on, even if you're not the one who's raising your biological child for whatever reason, whether they got taken away because you was doing drugs, or whether or not you couldn't afford to take care of them, and so you gave them up for adoption, or like us in Hawaii, what we do is we hanai children, and they live with other families that is your family or your friends or somebody's good friend. It's just whatever, for whatever reason it is, but they still, and we still carry that. And one of the things that I didn't like was being told that, I get problems. Wait, just like your dad. No, I'm not. And I didn't want to, be the one that, to have all those, anger issues. I guess when people would make me mad, and I would say any kind words to them, they're like, oh, you just like your dad. No, I'm not. And that's the part that, the parts that you don't like, like the, whether it's the lickings or, the things that cause you to be bitter, whether it's, some form of abuse, or, there's reflections of your parents that you don't like. There are parts of them that you don't like, right? Mm-hmm. Parts of the behaviors that you didn't care for. But you can either choose to be a victim, or you can choose to overcome that, right? Because once you're an adult, you got to start taking responsibility for yourself. Yeah. And say, okay, well, I didn't like some of the things that they did, but I'm going to forgive them. Right? I'm going to choose to forgive them because I don't want to carry bitterness or resentment or all those things. And sometimes when you get older, you realize, when you have kids, you realize that, oh my goodness, I needed lickings.
Okay, so if you're... Okay, so there's a scale. Your mom on one side, your dad on one side. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
and it goes up and down
Mm-hmm.
like a real scale. Okay. God drops you in the middle of the scale. You can only go to one side based upon who you are. What side of the scale are you going on? Your dad's side or your mom's side? I'm not saying choose a side. I'm telling you what side do you think that you will lean on. Just
I probably lean more on my dad's side.
what? Why?
I think when I was born, at the time that I was born, the generational things at that time that was happening. At the time that was happening. So even like I know I carry some things from my mom, but when my mom had me, it was a different set of who she was at that time versus who she was when my brother was born. Right? When I came along, she just had a miscarriage, didn't want to have another baby, and then got pregnant with me.
So what are you talking about now? Are you talking about traits and mindsets, or what are you basing that on?
I base that on who they were at the time, because when you're pregnant, okay, this is when a woman is pregnant, what's happening at that time is what she's carrying, and what she's carrying, you pass through the umbilical cord because you're one with your child, right? Your child is not one separate species, right? Your child gets nutrients, gets everything from you.
So it's not a clump of cells? I thought there were a clump of cells, Emily.
They get nutrients and everything from you. So, we prayed about personality wise for our children, but there are still things, there's traits, there's characteristics and personality and all those other things that we share.
Right.
Now, there are things that a child also shares with their dad, right? That comes through the dad's sperm, right? Their characteristics, traits, and all those things that come through that. It's amazing that Koa's name after you, but Koa looks more like my side of the family, right?
Okay, so he takes after me in which department?
In the analytical department. Now Gideon looks just like you.
Okay, let me be
reflection wise, as far as physical traits, look like you.
Gideon, so they both got my brain, but they got different sides of it.
Yeah, well, because like I said, Koa is more analytical and Gideon is more of the funny bone.
Yeah.
But Gideon's super smart too. It's just the way that they look at things. Koa is more he used to giggle a lot and laugh. And
who was that?
That was
gotta be you.
Koa.
No, but
yeah,
that's you.
And then now he's more serious. But Gideon is just funny bone all the way. But sometimes that,
that inappropriate funniness is definitely me.
I was going to say, that's not me.
Okay, so.
But so, like I was saying, you not just weigh out those things, but it just depends on who you are. I don't get to determine, I don't get to determine some of those things that I carry, right? Mm-hmm. God is the one who determines that.
Right.
I think I get more of the hard-headedness is from my dad. I know I have more of that where unless God is telling me something, a lot of times you're not going to change my mind. And if I believe something to the core, I don't care who you are, you ain't changing my mind. And that's something that my dad had. Like, that's a personality trait, I guess, or character trait that, that I say that I would carry from my dad's side.
So I asked you that because I never met your dad, right? Okay, now it's your turn. Okay, so now since you met obviously both, what side of the scale would I fall on?
Your mom.
What?
All the way.
Why mom's side? I'll let you hear this one because we never talked about this before. So let me hear you. Let me hear your reason why.
Because.
And for the record, before my wife talks, I'm not a mama's boy. Okay, I think I split down the middle for the most part. I think the life's how should I put it? Okay, I'll shut up. Okay, go ahead, tell her. Okay, well, why on the mom's side?
Because you're hard-headed, rebellious.
I would consider it a victorious mindset.
But no, the confidence, the
confidence for sure. My mom,
the ability to articulate and argue a point to no end.
For let me just pause for people that don't know the context. When my wife talks about confidence, there was a guy. I won't say any names to protect. I don't really have to delete the names because it's not that. But anyways, there was a story where my mom had confronted a retired, what was he? Syndicate, mafia, whatever. Let's just say mafia to make it easier for people to understand the story. There was a retired mafia hitman, bill collector kind of a guy whose child went to the school. And at the time, my mom was an acting principal. And I guess this guy thought he could push his weight around. My mom didn't care. Mom didn't care.
I don't care who you are.
She didn't care who you were. I don't care what your past. It doesn't matter. You're in my school or you're in this school and this is the rules. And that's how mom was, right? So that confidence, obviously, it's probably 3 years of hardship.
Now, the patience part, that comes from your dad.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Mom is like you, or she... There is no steam valve. You know the tea kettles have the steam valve? There is none. It's just wide open. It just pops open. It's like the they don't really have those anymore. When I was a kid, you used to have those pots with the lid, but they had this little round,
the little thing that would percolate and
it bounce up and down. Yeah, that's you and mom. There is no buildup of steam. It's just release pressure.
I have to release pressure, otherwise.
Okay, so you saying I follow mom's side? I can't.
I don't say you follow, but the heavier traits are on that side. Although there are traits of your dad there.
I agree with you. Although I'll say that the smaller portion that dad has is probably the grounding part. That's the part that keeps me grounded and getting in trouble.
I think the parts of me that keep me grounded was from my dad. Yeah. That's what I actually was thinking about that today because I was watching Passion's videos and it cracks me up because if you come from a Hawaiian community, some of the stuff she says, I'm like, that's so true.
That's just Hawaii culture and that old school fabric. Because like when I did stupid stuff and I got hurt, I remember that one time I was bleeding my elbow, my skin was coming off of my elbow. I still have the scar. Coming home, as soon as dad saw that I was okay, what's the first thing he does? He gives me lickings when I'm in the shower, rinsing off the blood. So that's that old school.
I remember coming home and I'm not supposed to be riding the bike, right? But you know, me and my friends riding the bike, but we only get one tanker, right? So the tanker's big, and here I am, like 9-10 years old.
What you mean tanker? What?
The big tanker bikes with the cruiser bikes.
The banana seat?
No.
Tanker.
It wasn't meant for a kid.
Tanker bikes.
The cruiser bikes, the one with the big handles.
A motorcycle?
No.
Oh, how many wheels did it have?
I look ride a motorcycle at 9-10 years old.
I don't understand tanker.
But cruiser bike. We call it tanker bikes. We call it cruiser bikes because you could take it to the beach. You call those
the beach cruisers.
Surfboard on the side. Yeah, so and I'm supposed to be riding that bike because the bike is big, but obviously I could ride the bike, right? And here I am tippy-toeing, trying for the paddles, move the paddles. But we're riding the bike, and she has her bike, which is fit for her. And we're going on the sidewalk, off the sidewalk. Cars, when you get cars, you climb on the sidewalk. When the cars leave, then you get off the sidewalk. Well, we was kind of going too fast, and the car was kind of going fast, and um, she hit me. I flew over the bike. I went gribble, scraped my knee open flap. Uh, because he made meat and everything, and I was tripping it. She was scared, and we both were scared. She was scared because she thought my dad was gonna give her a licking. But I knew I was gonna go home and get licking, so I was like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do?" So I went home, go wash, wash them off. Of course, you wash them off with the water hose, and you put the flap back up, and then you take Band-Aid and put Band-Aid on them like you try for doctor them. So, until you go in the house. Oh, what is that? And obviously, sometimes my dad, he never have to give you licking. He's like, oh, his thing was, oh, go get the hydrogen peroxide and alcohol and go get me, what do you call that? Those cotton balls. And he would scrub it. Now, he wouldn't scrub the inside, but he scrubbed the outside. He would scrub them hard.
That would be abuse in 2025 or 2024.
Needless to say, I never do that again. But my mom gave me licking because we was on the hanging from the tree, because we had one wall, and outside of the yard had a big tree, and then a branch came down, and so was strong enough to hold everybody. So from the wall to the mailbox, everybody was taking turns, swinging back and forth. So happily, my neighbor went push me off the wall, and I was trying to grab onto the thing, but I fell down and I cracked my head. And then I got licking. Because then after that, they would pick me up, drag me in the house.
For people that don't understand pidgin, when my wife says crack her head, she doesn't literally mean her head crack. Okay, just
whack your head on the ground. Feel like the thing went crack, but
yeah, it sounds like it. So here's the reason why I brought that up is the value, obviously, of our parents. But the underlying theme is a generational aspect. I was watching Trump's. Oh, I was reading Trump's Truth Social, talking about, China's not playing fair and imposing all of these tariffs. And so, let me say this, and this is a side topic, it's really not related, but I posted and I shared with you yesterday, my opinions, and it wasn't even a negative opinion. It was just an observation how I felt like I have never seen so much protest or pushback against the president wanting to bring our industries back home, right? Mm-hmm. And whether I could be wrong, but that post got, I didn't even check today, but before I went to bed, it was hitting, like, I don't know what it was, 45,000 impressions or views, and so much people were just calling me names, saying the F word, calling me stupid, I'm an idiot, do you not understand this? I'm like, I get the difference of opinion, but you don't have to call me names.
People not like your name's gonna hurt me because I don't know who you are.
Well, they're very passionate about it. But my thinking is there is for the first time, and I think Kevin O'Leary said it, for the first time in a very long time, someone is standing up to all of these different countries. And he said it's not even about tariffs anymore. Because he said we should impose a 400% tariff on China. He said 400%. And that's to offset, right? But what is the underlying theme of all of this? What is the underlying? It's not about putting money in our pockets in 2025. That's not what it's about. It may not. Most likely it won't. If anything, it might actually take money out of a lot of people's pockets just because of, even with business, right? There's always going to be a period when you implement something where it's going to take a minute to get a return on investment. Just because it looks good at the end of the plan, that doesn't mean that's what you're going to get in the beginning. That's extremely rare in any type of business, right?
Yeah.
Extremely rare you get your return like day one. I've never heard of that unless you're a crazy viral lottery winner sensation.
It needs time because even when you start a business, right, it takes time for your ROI to kick in.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
even when you acquire a business, right? It takes time for everything to balance itself out.
Especially if you've invested something into it financially. Well, even like for us, like the return on something like this is not. We may see it, we may not. But our parents, our grandparents, and our great grandparents invested in something that wasn't. As a matter of fact, they were investing in us included. Basically, we were investing in other countries so they can get wealthy, right? So now that the tables are turning, it's not so much about tariffs anymore. I agree with Kevin. It's not about that. There's something generational about what they're doing.
So even in the same way, if we get back to what we were just talking about, right? We could function the same way and discipline the same way, although it worked for us. There are things that were so dysfunctional, even in that way of parenting, that we don't hold our parents, captive to that, because obviously, as parents, every parent makes mistakes, right? But even in the generational things, like once we start seeing the generational stuff, then we have the ability to move past it, right? Like I say, you can become a victim and still proclaim that you're the victim of whatever, although, you may have fell victim to something, but at some point, are you going to allow that to continue to speak into your life, or are you going to change those things or change those behaviors, right? And so when we start recognizing those things as believers, one of the things we do is repent, right? We forgive. And in certain places, there is reconciliation, but in certain instances, there's no reconciliation, right? So we can carry some things into generations. So since we're talking about financial things, right? If our parents weren't good stewards over our finances, over their finances, well, there's a common phrase that was always in our home and other Hawaiian homes, that belong to my family or my friends. There's a statement that was always said, children ought to be seen and not heard. Like, what the heck does that mean? Like, every time I got told that, I was like,
yeah, what does that mean?
I don't even understand what that means. Basically, you can sit in the room, but shut your mouth because you ain't got nothing to say because you're not an adult in the room. That's basically kind of what it means. And the issue with some of these things is you want your kid to sit there and you want them to not do. This is the other phrase: do as I say, don't do as I do. No, that doesn't work. That's a lie. That's a lie of the enemy. Because if your parents have bad habits, guess what? You're going to end up picking up the bad habits because that's all you see, right? And unless you get up, you go to college, you take some financial classes to see things differently, you're going to continue to do the same thing, right? And so now here you are, you're married, you have children, you want to create generational wealth, but you can't create generational wealth because you're operating from a place that is a passed down generational thing. And it could have gone to, tutu, it could have gone to tutuma, your grandparent or your great grandparent. And, who's going to stop those things, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you do it, then your generations cannot stand on your shoulders,
right,
and succeed further. And I believe for us, that's one of the things that, that we know that we want to do is break generational things and allow our kids to stand on our shoulders to go further than what we've done. And I've talked to your mom about this stuff because that's one of the things that she was saying, right? Is that's what they wanted to do for you guys. And I already knew that's something that I wanted to do for me because, there are generational things that I saw growing up. Like I just didn't want it. I don't want to live that way. I don't want to be that way. Sometimes it would be frustrating because you don't know how to walk something out. You don't know how to get over something. And, I'm not discrediting anybody who's been abused in any way, but go and get help, right? You can't get better if you don't get the help that you need, whether it's if you've been abused, go and get counseling.
Mm-hmm.
If, you're, you come from a place of poverty, go and get financial wisdom, whether you take a course at college or you do Dave Ramsey's course, Financial Peace University. There's this other guy, Jim Baker, very good speaker on generational wealth. Educate yourself on these things where you can get better thinking, better way of doing things. And it's not just the educational part, right? You got to put those things into practice, and you just got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. I think with Jasmine, one of the things for me, and I think this was something generational, like I said, when I was born, I wasn't the wanted child, and it was circumstantial, right? Because my mom felt like she didn't have time enough to grieve before she got pregnant with me. Although that's not an excuse, but at that time, she just didn't know how to deal with the death of a baby that she had to give birth to, and then have a baby right after that, and not having somebody to walk her through or help her or tell her, you should go get some therapy, or you should go do this, or somebody, here's somebody to talk to, and they may educate you on those types of things, right? And not wanting to do things that way, right? Not wanting to behave that way. So, but growing up, I wasn't told that I was loved. I wasn't told I love you. And I can't remember how many times I've been told that I love you, or when I got hugs. I mean, I got hugs from other people. I just didn't really get hugs from my parents for whatever reason. I don't think my dad got hugged from my Nana.
I don't even remember. Like, now that I'm older, I can't tell you if I was ever told that, but I did feel it.
So,
right,
even with speaking about love languages and stuff, and I think that was one of my love languages, right? And so, I think for me that it was hard for me, but also when we got Jazz, I think that was hard for me. Because of the way that I grew up, I didn't want to have a daughter. I didn't want to have any daughters. So I always say, you know what? I'm only going to have boys. I don't know why I told myself that, but in my brain, I was like, I'm only going to have boys. I'm not going to have no girls, because I don't know. I more so, I was afraid to do to my daughter what was done to me, because I didn't know how to overcome a lot of the things that had happened in my life. And so, when it got Jazz, I don't know, one of the things that the Lord taught me with Jazz was to consistently hug her. And I would consistently hug her. I would consistently tell her that I loved her until it became comfortable, right? So to unlearn a behavior takes work, and sometimes it might be the most strenuous work that you've ever faced before, because you didn't know how to do a thing, right? And so with me, that was an example of like what would you do in the circumstances that you have, or the circumstances that you face, right? Whether it was some sort of abuse, or financially, like learning how to come out of those patterns. Those things take work, and it's not always easy.
We're also creatures of habit, right? So whatever, as painful and uncomfortable something may have been, we still do it, just because it's easier to sit in it than it is to make the change or the choice to become different. It is more work to do that. Even if it's uncomfortable, painful, a lot of times we'd rather just, I forget where we heard that. Oh, who said it? Poopy diaper. It was, I think it was Dave Ramsey. He says, "This is my poopy diaper and I like it. I'm going to keep wearing it. It's hot and stinky and it smells, but it's mine. And I'm going to keep wearing it." And I think that's kind of how we approach a lot of things, not just finances, but even when it comes to parenting, when it comes to being a son or a daughter. Like, even with your mom, and then we'll pick on that for a second. Well, even my dad, I'll pick on my dad and me. There are things that I say to my dad, or attitudes I have towards him, even in this age. Well, I do believe that I need to put that in check. Because he's not my son. I don't talk to him like he's my son, nor do I even think or have. To me, there's a certain level of respect that a reverence for him as a father that I should have, right? And I don't think I should ever, even though if I may see things that at my age, I'll be 50 right this year, that I think can be done better, that I don't feel that gives me a place to treat him or think of him anything other than a dad. And I think if God puts something on my heart is to love on him through that filter, right? Of having Holy Spirit as filtering everything I say or think about my dad in that respect. We're talking about generational things. You said, like, our parents, that's what they had. That's what they grew up with. Whatever it was, whatever chapters were given, that's what they had.
You take responsibility for what is yours. Yeah. You leave whatever responsibility was theirs to them, right? And then you learn to make better decisions. You can't be a victim after you're 18, right? There's some, you're going to have to work through the victory to get to victory of all the things that either you didn't have and you needed or that you wanted. You have to work through some of those things and allow the Lord to use you to heal those places, right? To end the thing and begin something new.
I'm thinking about Pastor Roy right now because I'm excited because we're going to have him as a guest. But for people that don't know Pastor Rory, he's I guess senior pastor of Calvary Chapel, and they just came back from a trip in Nepal. In Nepal is India, kind of, sort of. I think Nepal is a part of the continent or the country, but I don't think they're actually Indian. I think they're like, I don't even know the word. Let me ask Google. Hey, Google, is Nepal a part of India?
On the website homework.study.com, they say, no, Nepal is not part of India. Nepal has never been under the control of any other nation or colonial power. To find out more...
Okay, so they're close to India.
But they're never under control.
They were never under colonial rule.
Colonial powers.
So anyways, yeah, they came back from Nepal. But I think it was a blessing to see him and Russell do that together.
Well, I want to say even this week in dealing with rebellion, right, is I could see myself even in that. And that's where I was like, okay, we need to repent because there's some behaviors that I know, generational traits that I've seen with my dad and then with me. And I don't want my son or my daughter, any of my sons or any of my daughters carrying.
So it's a good thing you repented, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you repented.
Yeah. Watch out, your head is hitting me.
For people that don't know the reference, so what is today? Today is Wednesday. Tuesday. So Monday is supposed to have done a cooking show. I scheduled a live cooking show, and just things happen, right? If you're a parent, you got kids, things happen. Like you can be in the middle of something really important or something really cool, and it's like, I gotta put on my dad hat, and I did. And I don't know if I handled it the best way, but I do know that it it adjusted my mindset for the whole day, and I just could not do the live cooking show. So, but anyways, I think it worked out just fine. But I will say, for anybody that is, the reason why I wanted to do this today is I've been seeing a lot of amazing people, and my filter of the outside world is social media. So I've been seeing a lot of some smart people, engineers, content creators, whatever you want to call them, just amazing. And something really got heavy in my heart. I'm like, man, is all of this going to die with them? Is it going to pass on to another generation?
Well, you had said something because you was dealing with rebellion. You said, the Lord said, that we have to serve one another, right? And I thought about that because when you was talking, I thought about that because if we break a generational pattern to create a new healthy generational pattern, we have to not just walk it out, but we have to walk consistently with our children to show them that as well, right? We have to not just be the forerunners, but I'm not running by myself, right? It's like you're running a relay race. I don't know if you ever ran a relay race, but so I used to run track. We used to have this relay races, right? And in the relay race, you put the fastest, shortest runner in the first heat, or the first lane.
You see the shortest what runner?
The fastest short distance runner.
That's not what I heard.
Yeah, I said shortest runner, but it's the fastest short distance runner.
I was thinking a short fat guy. Whoa, you put the fat guy in the front? Make him go first. That's what I heard. Wow. Okay, I'm thinking, well, that's smart. You put the shortest, fattest guy in the beginning, so get him out of the way, and then the faster guys can finish the race. I mean, that's such a great idea.
Okay, so you put the fastest short distance runner in the front, and for the long distance, you put the one who could handle the long distance running in the last, right? So this girl, her name was Angela Keller, and she was this tall, lanky girl, and she would run. Because you'd have to do it twice, the whole thing, and she would outrun everybody. But she had these long legs, and she would just kind of like, the slow and steady wins the race kind of a deal. And all these people are running super fast around the first lap. When they came around the second lap, they're all struggling already. And she never ran super fast like when she was doing the distance running. She would do the slow and steady until it came to not just a last lap, but towards, I don't know how many meters to the finish line. That's when she would start picking up speed. Right, because she's conserving her energy until that part, right? And so we need to be the one that's in the front, right? Because we want the one who's at the end to continue moving at a pace that will create.
I see the connection because now I'm the heavy set guy in the front, leading the way. But we got to be honest. We got to tell everybody, wow, you got to tell them, honey, how great of a job we did the other day. We cleaned that kitchen really good.
Oh yes. So, in saying that, my husband took the boys into the kitchen, and they actually really did a good job. They did a really good job in cleaning the kitchen. I was not so much amazed as I was blessed by it, because they cleaned to my standard. It was just awesome.
Listen, this is what I believe, and this is a word of encouragement to any parents out there, that sometimes we get so caught up in expecting our kids to do something, and even though we know we can do it, And even though they know we can do it, sometimes it's not just them needing to see you do it. Sometimes they need you to do it with them.
Yeah.
And I think one, he didn't complain one bit. Not with me. He didn't complain. I'm sure he may have felt like he wanted to, but when he saw that I wasn't complaining, I just kept going to work.
Well, even in, teaching them how to cook, because I haven't worked with Gideon to really teach him how to cook yet, but he's going to make dinner one night this week. But with Koa, he told me the other day, he said, Mommy, I'm going to cook on this day. I said, okay. So that's why yesterday when he came home, because he asked me to come and help him. I said, okay, I'll come help you. I said, well, what do you want me to do? Because the other two, I already taught them how to cook, right? But he just needed help. And that just really blessed me.
Mm. Plus, he had good. He had beef. It's called the beef tallow, or was it the seed
I don't
oils?
know if he used the beef tallow.
Maybe not. Maybe next time we use the beef tallow. For people that don't know, we are budding homesteaders. We make our own beef tallow. Once in a while, my daughter makes her own butter. She's a chicken farmer, a chicken egg farmer, a chicken egg. Yeah, she every morning, every day or every other day, she checks the chickens. I forget.
Sometimes every day, sometimes every other day.
Depends if we need eggs. But
you have to pick up eggs every day, though.
Oh yeah, and then she makes my point being is that sometimes our kids need us to be in there with them.
Well, I think that's true for everything, because I just thought about generationally, right? You look at our culture as Hawaiians, like my two to them, they did a lot. They taught my grandma them, but my grandma them, that's when colonization, began. And didn't really teach some of the things that that they don't have in school, right? So my mom would say, if they got sick, my two of them would go out inside the yard. And because I just read this about, I don't know what this guy's, Mr. Mean, I think his name is, but he was talking about that growing up, that they had mullein growing in where they grew up. And he said, we would just dig them out like as if it was on reed. And he said, I never even know that as I got older, I didn't even know that we would use this for medicinal reasons, right?
It's a weed, right? Basically, or is it a flower?
It's an herb. So they drink. You can drink it in a tea. The leaves you can drink in the tea, but you use it medicinally for other things too. You can make a salve and whatever.
A what?
Salve. Like you pound a thing together.
Lotion.
Come on. No, that's different. Salve is like, like how when you get stung by one bee, you make dirt, you make mud, put them on top so the thing can pull out the stinger.
Yeah, it's a lotion.
No, it's salve. It's not a lotion.
If you was a caveman, that'd be your lotion.
Lotion you gotta rub into your skin. It's different.
Pretty close.
Anyway. He was talking about herbs, and my mom was talking about how when they would get sick, my tutim would go out inside the yard and just pull certain types of herbs, just kind of, and would make them eat it, and they were better. Well, those things, like my grandma knew those things, but it wasn't passed down generationally. And you look at, we talked about homestead in Waimanalo and the differences when I grew up and how nice it looked and how it looks now. It looks a little bit cleaner now, but not being taught generationally, not passing down things through the generations that would cause your children to thrive or we look at the generation now and all these protests are coming up. They're the generation, that we trust the government to educate them on different things, and we stop talking because we become so busy with work, and there's no, we don't talk about how was your day at school and all these different things. But we just take them from sports to sports, and we do all these other things, but not realizing, all these things that are being taught. Not everything that's being taught is something that we value or hold as value.
It's like meme coins.
What did you say? Meme coins.
It's like meme coins. I don't know if you connected the dot on it, but it's like meme coins. People buy meme coins, and they have a ton of money, which some people spend. And I've bought my fair share of meme coins, and lost money, made whatever. But they're not really. There's no true utility in a crypto, and I'm talking crypto talk. But there's no true liquidity or utility when people buy meme coins. The same goes with parenting and investing in the kids' relationships and time. There's a lot of, I know that was a weird way to interject, but meme coins in our kids' time would be like video games or sports at school that are maybe important, educational programs, and whether people can homeschool the kids or not. There needs to be an actual time investment.
Mm-hmm. There has to be value, respect, and integrity passed down.
Well, it has to be relevant, right? Here's another interjection. This is going to be a fun one. So what we're talking about, do you agree, and we talked about this already, but do you agree with Warren Buffett signing off everything to Bill Gates?
No. But yeah.
In your perception, why would he do that? Why would he sign off all of his wealth to Bill Gates?
Because Bill Gates knows how to steward finances.
And we're just pretending that they're upright citizens with a good heart.
That's why I say no, because of this. But he does know how to invest, and he pretty much is taking care of his wealth. Although there's a lot of shady things, and that's why I would say no.
I think from the core principle, I agree, because it cannot just end with Warren Buffett. Everything he's done, it would be such a disservice to everything he's worked for. And we're not talking about his ethics, right? We're just talking about the principle of what he's done and achieved. And we're just going to use wealth, since that's what we're talking about. We're not that we're valuing wealth over anything else, but it would be crazy if he signed it over to like, I need somebody funny. It'd be funny if he signed it off to like the black dude who got famous for dead giveaway, right? Okay, that's probably not a good example. Let's say he signs up to anybody. He signs up to somebody that has a credit score of 200.
Well, how's it like he's signing off to the guy who called to turn himself in so that he could collect
the
the reward fee.
The criminal who turned himself in to get his own reward. Yeah. I'm going to acknowledge some people real quick. And TNT is good to have you. Of course, we got Nicole, who just came back from Honolulu. Good friend of ours. She was... Nicole is... I think she just came back yesterday from Waikiki. But... yeah, it'd be like Warren Buffett signing over his wealth to the dude that turned himself in to get the reward money, not realizing, wait a minute, you're the wanted criminal.
But still, do I still get the reward?
Yeah, he's probably...
I turned myself in.
To this day, I wonder if that was even real. If that was just I'm pretty sure it was real.
I'm pretty sure that was real.
Don't do drugs, kids. But I agree that there has to be a legitimate passing off. And this is for people that maybe that don't have kids, because we spend a lot of time talking about children, but like, let's say you can't, right? And this is not going to be a childbearing, childbearing?
Well, even a nephew or a niece or, somebody in your family.
Well, David Osaka is a great example. right? When I did a podcast with him, we talked about that, generational, and there was a time, and this is public, so I'm not putting Dave on the spot, but we talked about it in our podcast. There was a girl that I thought would be such a great, I thought she'd be great for him, and I didn't try to set them up because I don't think that's what I didn't have that rapport with that person, but I was really rooting for him, and but the question came up, eventually, when you're old and gray, and what would you desire for the next generation? And one of the things he said was, I would like to think that everything I've done, because he's done some crazy stuff. Some of the places he's been, I
know, and some of the places he's been, there was earthquakes there.
Yeah, we're gonna call him the earthquake man. Literally, and he got famous. That's not why he got famous, but some of the things that added to his famous bucket was being at the right place at the wrong time, or at the wrong place at the right. He was at the wrong place at the right time. Who can say that they've been to Thailand twice in the past 10 years when the earthquakes happened? Who can say that? And
the earth said, "Oh, David's here."
Yeah. So, anyways, he said, I would like to hope that everything I'm doing is a historical document. And so I think that's where my heart is today. We're talking about, if it all ends with you, man, that's heavy. For me, that's heavy. Like, yeah. I don't think I could feel good about everything just ending with me and then we're done. You know what I mean?
I think that's why, they talk about midlife crisis, right? And we don't ever have midlife crisis because, we belong to Christ. So there's no such thing in our life as midlife crisis. And I think a lot of people hit midlife crisis because purpose is one. And number two, that up until that point, there's a point in their life that they reach and they go, what the heck have I done with my life? Right?
Yeah.
And it's not so much of what have you done with your life up until that point, but what have I passed on to generations, that I have the ability to speak into. And, I believe I have a voice to do that in our children, in my nieces and my nephews, in which we help raise, right? We encourage them to own a business, like open something up. You're creative, just do it, even if our business gets big, guess what we're going to do? Is we're going to help our family, right, to create their own business, because we're creating generational wealth for the next generation. This is what we want them to do, is create generational wealth. So even with our kids, even with Zoe, my daughter, she's 16 now, started 16? A business. She's 16 now. She started a business, right? My son, I'm talking to him about, okay, what is your creativity? What is the things that you like to do, and push them in that direction to make a business out of it, right? So we're teaching them how to steward finances. Zoe right now, she's taking some classes on, I want to say commerce, but it's not commerce, but it's teaching her how to, if you have employees, this is what it looks like. This is what W-2s looks like. This is what a 1099 looks like.
That's why she was asking me the other day.
Yeah. So we're talking about. She asked
me for W-9.
Yeah. So there are W-9s, but, as far as contracts and all this stuff. So teaching her that part of, what business looks like. And then even having, our kids do PowerPoints on, okay, I want you to think about a business that you think that you may want to open. Just brainstorm it or whatever. Let's look at it, go down the line of, okay, what does it take? And all these different aspects, right? Because we want them to be successful in life, and we cannot allow our mindsets to hold them back from being successful, because we wasn't successful in one thing, we wasn't successful in another thing, right? And I've seen this too in generations, like I've seen parents go, well, I couldn't do it, and I don't see that in you. That's why I don't think that it will happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? So even the other day, I was talking to somebody and said, well, my husband is doing this. And my mom said, well, I don't even think that he should be doing that because of his personality and this and this. I said, well, what if? That's what he should be doing. Just let him do it. Just support him. And maybe he'll make a business out of it.
Yeah.
You just, I say you do what you got to do to support your spouse. And then, as the business comes, you teach your kids even in it. So I was actually watching Kelly Boy Dilima from Capena, and he was doing an interview with the guys that did an interview for Kevin Perry.
Who's Kevin Perry? Oh, the singer.
The Hawaiian singer.
Yeah, we'll do a video of him eventually.
And so Kelly Boy was talking, and he was talking about how he grew up in school.
Yeah. And Kevin Perry, actually, he played with Fiji's band. That was his original band. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He created a band. They did Brown Bags to Stardom called Hot.
No, yeah. So what I'm saying is video.
He didn't play. All the people that was in his band went on to play for Kelly Boy. That's what he said.
Fiji.
I mean, not
Fiji's house band.
Yeah, they became Fiji's house band, not him.
Yeah.
But the guys that was in his band.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's exactly what I just said.
But Kelly Boy was talking about, how he went from high school to playing with all these guys to playing with Tongan brothers to he played with them for 20 years. They just did a 40-year reunion. But now his kids, as his kids started getting older, he started training his son. At 12 years old, I think Capetta started playing drums. And then he started Kalena, too. She started playing at
He was playing
12.
from like 5, because I remember.
Yeah, but playing with the band at 12.
Maybe. Because that's when I started playing with Chris and Kainoas, right? When Panda Boy was just starting to.
So then, same thing with Kalena, and then with Lilo, I think he said he started Lilo at 11, and she started playing the bass because somebody went somewhere. I think one of the Tongan brothers. So, that's where she started playing the bass, and so now they all play, right? They all play.
All sing. Too.
But Kala'e and Kalena, they're doing something different. I swear they live on a big island. But anyway.
Well, because Kalena married
Kala'e.
the guy from Pomailoaka. That's her husband.
No, she married my cousin.
Kalena.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who married the other guy?
Lilo, I think she's married to a Tongan guy.
Oh, maybe I got it all mixed up.
But they're all doing something in music. So, I know. Lilo started playing the bass because Kapena went to the mainland for college to become a sound engineer. So now they're all in the business, but they're all creating at the same time. So Kalena opened up the school called Kapena School of Music or something like that.
In the mall.
Yeah. So that's another, venue for them. So if you look at generationally, this is what they're doing. And so I think Kelly Boy's grandson is now 11 and he's starting to play the drums.
And that's the family business.
Right. And so you're looking at generationally, right? So now these are 3 generations, right, of building generational wealth together.
Well, I still remember when Kaino was playing bass with them. And I remember they were fizzling out all of the members, right? And it makes sense because you can't expect 4 guys to grow old together and stay together the entire time. They all have to have families too, right? There has to be.
Well, they have family, and I think one was.
I'm talking about the original. What I'm saying, honey, is the original band, right? So the original drummer, he passed away. Right, he I think it was heroin or something. But then of course the two brothers, right? One passed to the church,
Yeah.
went back to different, where were they? I want to say Fiji,
No,
Tonga. Tonga went to
Yeah.
Tonga,
Yeah, because he just came back for the 48.
and then of course Eddie, the muscle drummer. He's got a family too. So
Kelly Boy was thinking generationally.
yeah,
right?
right.
So he's talking
It's
about
a
keeping
family
it in the
business.
family.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I would say anybody that has something similar, like give your kids a safe place, right? Give them a safe place to make the mistakes.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if Zoe's gonna. I don't know if I don't think with her baking and stuff will be her. I don't think that's a life. I don't know. I don't think it's a life thing. But in the meantime, she's enjoying it somewhat. Well, she hasn't baked in a while, but making the money is nice. I'm sure she likes making the money, right? But giving her a safe place to practice it, to make the mistakes.
Well, she's very creative, right? So she went from baking. I think she said she's going to bake cookies and bread only this time, but sourdough bread because she was, what do you call that?
I think her kimchi.
Practicing.
I think her kimchi is.
Oh yeah, even the kimchi.
I think that's going to be her signature. That's what I think.
And then now she's making keychains because she likes to crochet too, right? So now she's making these little miniature keychains. So she's finding her niche on what makes her happy and what she feels like she can do. And we also bought her classes to do what do you call them? Makeup or beauty routine.
So your
like
job
for your
is to make
face.
sure it's profitable. That's your job. To make sure it's profitable.
Because she likes all these beauty products too, like her mother. But whatever it is, whatever she does will be successful.
I won't read it out. I won't mention names, but there's a guy that I've been communicating with and talking about, storefronts, and there's 3 people I've been having conversations about doing storefronts. And so for people that don't know, on Twitter, now called X, they have a robust set of features that you can have to operate as a business if you want to. You don't have to. But one of the things is having a storefront. And honestly, there's not a lot of traction, but it's there, right? So one of the conversations I had was just, hey, here's how you can do it. And it's almost free. I don't want to say free when it's not technically free because it's your time. But I think more now than ever, there's never been such an opportunity for people, and even our kids. I think one of the things I will say, I would like to get her Instagram, not her, but her business Instagram, get that, get traction on that, because there's people that are local that they're just waiting for the next update, right? Where can I find you? When can I find you? Those kind of things.
I want to say this is a good place for stuff like that because people support children and they support entrepreneurship in kids. Like I'm amazed at some of these things that they put on for kids called Kid Biz. I think it's Kid Biz.
Is that a regional specific, or is it something that's okay?
It's specific here. They have one in Bend, and then they have one in Prineville. And it's interesting because they have a lot of kids that show up for that stuff, which is really good. But even when we've done events here, like people are so excited to see a kid doing things as far as entrepreneurship. And, when they would ask Zoe questions, or they would ask me questions, I was like, you got to go ask her because it's her business. Like technically, yes, I'm the head because
you're the legal.
I'm her mom and legally, right? But
ultimately, it's her.
But ultimately, it's hers. So even just grooming her and showing her, hey, you got to know about your products. People going to ask you about your products, if you need somebody. So she would go, if you need somebody to talk to, try it out too. So she would go and see grandpa. Grandpa, can I,
He was a beta tester.
yeah. Can I ask you these questions, or can you ask me these questions and let me answer it and tell me what you think? Right. All those little things that matters. And she's so excited. Once you make that one sale, it's so exciting, and it's so good. But they support kids here in doing that. And as they get older, it's so great to see businesses with that.
When we did the one by the produce place, she made more money in one day than she would have made in like a fast food restaurant.
Right.
Yeah. For one, so, and I don't know. I think if I was to encourage anybody, like if you have kids or you're in charge of kids, like what a great way to teach them, like, hey, this is how you make money. Not so much you trade your hours for dollars, because I think we're all, I won't say we're all good at it, but we all know how to trade an hour for $1.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can teach the kids how to, it's the Jim Rohn's his profits versus wages, right? So if we teach the kids about profits, right, not just necessarily from a corporate structure, but even for an entrepreneur, like you put in this much work, this is the profit you make. Granted, the hours might not make sense, right? But in the long run, teach them how to make the profits. If you can leverage how to make the profit, that will be ideal, right? Like being able to make the money when you're in bed, sleeping.
Yeah.
Right. So it could be whatever products she got. We can do Etsy for her. But I think I want to get back into the topic of, I don't want to dwell too much on kids because I feel there's a lot of people that don't have kids.
I was talking about entrepreneurship.
Yeah. But I think having a skill set, and if you, there's a lot of, I'll share some of the stories, some of the things that I've been seeing. Like there's this one guy who, I'll just say X on Twitter. He was on social media on the platform for maybe 2-3 years. And there's multiple stories where people start up something great, create their own applications or their own services. And they're kind of like organic, but their connections are through social media. And I thought that was really great. But it is, the thing that got put in my heart in relation to that is, that's amazing and great, but does it stop there? And I hope it doesn't. Because there are some amazing things that people are doing, on like even with passion, like she had a very heartfelt,
if you support me.
Yeah. If you support me, and at first I thought there was a punchline coming.
Yeah,
but
because
there wasn't.
I thought there was going to be like some sort of funny commercial. But she made commercials. So she made several. One was for First Insurance and the other one was for, I think, Hawaiian Airlines.
So that's through brand partnership, which is kind of what we've got, right? And our brands are not big, but if I had stuck with Insta360, that would have been great. That would have been a great story. But it's all good. TNT, the guy who did the volcano, he's got 6 kids. That's
that's awesome.
That's a lot of kids, bro.
That's not a lot.
No, I
mean,
mean,
that's awesome.
For the average American, that's a lot of kids. For the Jewish, not so much. For the Mormon, probably not so much. Mormons,
for the Hawaiian, for the Samoan, for the Tongan.
The old school, yeah. The new wave Polynesians today, they're not having as much kids. Not like before. You know what I mean? And we're talking about modern Hawaii culture because people can't afford it, right? So, but I want to transition real quick. And matter of fact, I'm going to take a quick 30 seconds to just thank one of our partners, which is Arkon Mounts. And they are one of the reasons why I'm able to do these broadcasts, these podcast episodes, live streams, whatever you want to call them. I do want to thank Arkon Mounts. They've been very special to me and my family, and even our business, even with Egg Drop. When we went out to LA to we did a couple of promo events. We did a little mini tour. So I just want to take a minute just to recognize them and thank them for being our not just sponsor, but really partner with everything we do. So we'll play this real quick, and I'll be back in about 30 seconds. Today's episode is brought to you by Arkon Mounts. For those of you that are content creators and you want the best mounting solutions for your cell phones, your DSLR cameras, well, go to Arkon.com. Be sure to use my promo code Hawaii and you'll get 20% off your entire order. Also, all of their products come with a lifetime guarantee. So head on over to Arkon.com, keeping your devices within reach. I will say I'm not a techie person, and so StreamYard is great because they have everything kind of preloaded, and I'm grateful for that. But to get back into the discussion about, the generational aspect, and I think on Rumble, one of the things I put in the descriptions was talking about the value of generational mindsets. There's some amazing people on this platform, or all the platforms I'm on, that have just really good business models. They have really good businesses, whether it's a brick and mortar, whether it's consulting, products, services. It can be like life coaching, just great stuff. I think one of the heavy things in my heart today is how can we translate that into a generational model, right? Because I told my sons, I'll show you one of them. This is one of my generic ones, but not generic, but like I have a lot of these journals laying around, not just laying, but I have them. And I have a lot of moleskin journals, and everything that I've learned, whether it's through, it can be a sermon, it could be a business event that we attended. I still have my notes from Donald Trump when I went to a business conference where he was speaking. I have 2 journals, and they're all dated, where I just sat there, I took notes, and he was speaking at this conference. There's some great business leaders I've been blessed to, just not just pick their brain, but to really document. And so I told my kids, like, hey, when I'm gone, all of the devotionals, the sermons, the business notes, all this historical stuff, this is yours. You want to learn how we made money in this and in that? Well, it's all here. Everything I learned, it's all here. And I'm like, it's not mine. I'm just stewarding it. Like, God blessed us with these opportunities. And so we're just Dad's going to write it down. And when I'm gone, you'll have it. And I think if we can adopt that mindset when it comes to whatever it is that you're doing. Now, obviously, if you're in a, you're in a public service, and, maybe you are in a linear type of income type of producing job or profession, well, find other things that can be of generational relevance, right? There's a lot of things out there. And one of the things I will say, there's a TV show, my wife, when she comes back, she'll remember. It was, I think, Blue Bloods. I'm pretty sure it's Blue Bloods, where they talk about their family business is basically law enforcement. Well, my wife and I, our family business is really centered around relationship. Everything we do is centered about relationships, also centered around, if you watch the intro to our podcast, it's about creating historical documents through conversation. But everything we do, it doesn't matter if it's ministry or if it's a business model or something that we're desiring to generate income, it all centers around relationship. And if there's one thing for our kids is to pass on to them, is that mindset that, yes, this is generation, but it's our family business. If I was to say, it's like the Blue Bloods, talking about Blue Bloods. Yeah. So their family business is law enforcement, but our family business is really about relationship. And I think that goes well with any type of business model that someone may be running, whether it's, products or services, social media, there's a lot of millionaires that are being developed through social media, and it's okay, you're back on cam, but there's a lot of people that are on social media that have become wealthy, right? But at the heart of it, the people that last are the ones that understand the principles or the value of relationship. I'm not saying they have to become friends,
Right.
but there was who was it? There was the guys from Hawaii, the one and only. I forget their actual name. I want to say D is probably one of them. So husband and wife. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they go live every day. And he came in on my live yesterday. I was driving, and I remember telling him, "Man, thank you so much for just jumping. I said I really really appreciate you." And it wasn't some superficial, pre-typed out wording. That I really legitimately was grateful that he was there. And I'm not saying because of him, but I'm pretty sure a lot of it, the additional viewers that came to watch and attend that live stream, maybe after the fact, was because of him. And it's all, to me, it's all about that relational aspect, right? And so our kids, I'm hoping and believing that our kids would develop that same.
Who knows? Maybe
mindset.
one day somebody gonna be one podcaster just because you turned on that live button, right? And Larry encouraged you to go. You need to go live, and you started with Periscope, and then.
So which kid? I think it'd be Gideon. He's the one because he's quick. I mean,
he's quick.
Koa would be a great one too. I think they all would be great, but I think as of right now, if we was to put a scorecard on them, I think Gideon would be the guy.
Cole would be the guy taking care of everybody's finances.
Yeah, he'd be the Jewish guy. Cole's our resident Jewish guy, the finance guy. And I mean no disrespect. I'm just saying Jewish people, generally speaking, are very good with money.
Well, I watched an interview with Gal Gadot.
Godot.
However you
If
say
you're
her
Filipino, Godot.
Anyway, and she was talking, and I watched another person too, and she was talking about how in a Jewish home, they talk about finances all the time. And it's a normal thing. And they teach generational wealth, right? And that's where that that saying, you can.
If you follow my commands, that one?
No, teach a guy to fish.
Oh, he's got to
you can feed somebody a fish, or you can, teach them how to fish, right? Which one is, I can either feed you or I can teach you how to get your own.
Yeah. Well, I think the Jews take that scripture to heart, where if the Lord says, if you love me and obey my commands, right, mm-hmm. I will bless you upon the third and fourth generation. But if you don't, I will bless you for 1,000. Yeah. But if you don't, I will curse you for the third and fourth. So that's a great segue for anybody that if you're, and then we joked about it in the beginning, if your kids are rebellious or doing something silly, you should probably repent. But that's an honest thing. Maybe we should repent because we want God to bless us. We want the blessing for 1,000 generations.
And we want God to forgive us for even us being rebellious towards our parents, right? Even though, that's what the Bible talks about, right? Like, you grow up rebellious and you have to be taught, mm-hmm. To not be rebellious, to live a righteous and more, peaceable way of living, and, teach your kids responsibility, right? And I had a discussion with our boys the other day about kuleana, and kuleana in Hawaii means responsibility. And, in our words that we use, it's not just words, right? It's really a concept or a principle. And kuleana for a family means that I contribute, right? I have a responsibility to my family, to my parents, mm-hmm. to my siblings, right? To help out where I need to help out. Like even me growing up, right? Like my first job was in the house was to take out rubbish, because at 5 years old, You know, I could take out rubbish, from the bathroom, the small garbage, and put them inside the big garbage, right? It's just little things that you're teaching, along the way. I also learned how to cook rice at 5, even though I couldn't reach the sink, push the chair all the way to the sink, stand on the chair, and wash rice that way, right? And, teaching principles. So in Kuleana is teaching a responsibility to something, right? To your community. The responsibility to your community is to keep your yard clean, right?
Yeah.
That's a responsibility to your community, because when your yard is clean, right, and your neighbor's yard is clean, right, then people see, those clean houses. I watched this guy. He mows, not necessarily, well, he mows lawns, but he goes to abandoned places and he cleans them up, because if you don't clean it up, you see a very nice street of all these houses, and then you get that one house, right? And that's where drugs and squatters and all this stuff can happen. So if you clean it up, those things won't happen. So we have a responsibility to our community, even if your neighbor likes to sell their house, right? And one of the things I dealt with in real estate was somebody trying to sell their house because they needed to sell their house and they wanted to buy a smaller house, but so that they would have some sort of finances so that they could invest or do something with the rest of their money. Well, one of the issues is if they have a house that looks like that and it doesn't have a clean yard and stuff like that, that can really knock down the price of the home of what they're trying to sell it for, right? But also, you don't want your yard leaching over into the neighbor's yard, right? And creating rubbish there too. So, our responsibility, our kuleana to our community is making sure that our property is maintained where, it's not in a position where we're making it harder for our neighbor, right?
Right.
Our kuleana to our family is taking care of the household, right? If somebody accidentally drops stuff, like pick them up and they'll just walk over it. Right? Or if grandpa needs help, right? Go outside. And this is what I teach my kids, because this is what I was taught and this is what I do. I would do, even with my grandma, them, if we went to a party, I would go and make her food. Right? If we were at her house and she needed trash taken out, I would take out the trash. Right? If she needed dishes to be washed, I would wash her dishes. Right. It's serving my elders, but also respecting them at the same time. So when my father-in-law comes home and he has stuff and, stuff may be heavy, I tell my boys, go outside and go help grandpa. Help him take his stuff to his place. Right. Kuleana, responsibility. Yeah. Responsibility to help one another out. That's what kuleana means.
We don't have enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the kid who was at that restaurant the other day, just basically push everybody out of the way. Right?
It's interesting.
Like, get out of my way. But then he didn't even at least hold the door open for us.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, but that's just different. That's culture. It's not even culture in a sense of ethnicity. Some of it is. That's just parenting. That's just because local kids can do the same thing.
Yeah. But
it just so happens that more non-local kids, we see that more than anything. But yeah, well, I will say that's really a culture with a parenting culture thing.
Well, even in helping out in Hawaii, our culture is so different, right? So even like my Hanai parents taking me in, even though, knowing that we had struggles, right? Or like, I just thought about, what is his name? The book over there.
Kiyosaki?
Robert Kiyosaki. How he talked about his rich dad and his poor dad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? His poor dad was his biological dad, but his rich dad was like his best friend's dad, right? And how his best friend's dad taught him about finances. Right, where you see a need, you kind of kuleana, you help fill a need as well. Yeah,
yeah.
Just very powerful principles that he distinguished, even in those books, that can help shift your mentality as far as how we think about finances, right?
Just to clarify for people that heard us talk about Dave Ramsey. So Dave Ramsey and Robert Kiyosaki are not on the same page. I like both of them. I like Kiyosaki's for the mindsets. Dave Ramsey seems to be more, I don't want to say just hands-on, but he's definitely more closer to, it's not even the right word, but rational things that you can apply. Right, because Kiyosaki is very much he says don't chop up your credit cards. Why would you do that? That's money.
He's more on the investing part of his mindset as far as
what I'm talking about. There's a fundamental difference that they actually argue about publicly, and that's the era of credit cards. Right, Dave Ramsey says pay them off, get rid of them. Kiyosaki says no. Why would you get rid of them? Pay them off, but use the credit cards.
So I can see that part as far as investing and real estate. That's the mindset of a real estate guy.
Heavy in it, but it's also the mindset.
Yeah.
Because Kiyosaki's, and this is where they separate. And I think they respect each other. I think Dave Ramsey came public. That they respect each other, but their fundamental difference is that one is too risky, which is Kiyosaki. Mm-hmm. The other one says, well, you're not risky enough. Nobody's gonna get wealthy with your. Like they'll get by is what he's saying.
Well, I think even from just reading Robert Kiyosaki's from a business standpoint, I understand both because I understand what Robert Kiyosaki is saying. But in order to apply Robert Kiyosaki's mentality as far as not cutting up your credit cards, you really gotta have
discipline
to not use it other than for just to allow it to build your credit. Now, I understand Dave Ramsey's principle, and his principle is even in showing you how to get rid of
safe.
debt.
He's basically safe, to put it very blunt. He's just safe. Yeah. And that's fine.
And you need both.
I think he's just basically safe. And so but if you was to put them on a scale, I think one caters to people more, and I think that's for Dave Ramsey to open up that facility in Tennessee. He's got, I think it's like a 3,000 seat facility, and I was watching a podcast, and he's talking about they do prayer every morning at their auditorium, but then that's also the same auditorium. So all the events that we watch, the classes that's where they are. They're in. What a beautiful place. And it's basically a college campus. He built a college campus just for wealth and finance and financial literacy.
So people can understand literacy.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's two different avenues. One is all about investing. The other one is about teaching you how to use finances wisely so that you can invest wisely. Now, if I look at the both of them and say if I put them as far as stocks goes, right? And if I put them in, say they were Edward Jones and they were a stock, Dave Ramsey would be the safe zone where you would keep some of your money.
He'd be the mutual funds.
Yeah, he would be the mutual funds where it's safe. You keep it here. And then, Robert Kiyosaki would be the investment parts where you can take a higher risk on things. So one you apply to get out of debt, right? And teach you how to use finances correctly, which is, I want to say 90% of people need to learn how to do that. Robert Kiyosaki, his principles are different, but like I said, you need to have a heavy amount of discipline in order to operate in that way, like not using your credit cards.
If you can be disciplined to not use the credit cards and you're good with paying them off, then I think you'd be okay with using it to make investments. But
there are a lot of people who carry Robert Kiyosaki's mentality, and
now he's not, for people that don't know Kiyosaki, he's the author of the Cash Flow Quadrant, which is the BIENS, right? So it's people that don't, it's separating the two, right? So the self-employed and the employee are in the same boat.
Right.
So just because you're self-employed, that doesn't mean that you have freedom. You're still, as soon as you close your doors, you're still working. At least with employee, you clock out, you're done. Technically, as a typical employee.
Right, but either way, I mean, if you use your money wisely on both end, you can become rich.
The freedom comes from going to the B and I side, right?
Mm-hmm.
The big business and the investor side. So, but the principles that I think what I like about Kiyosaki is that the principles are really about leveraging. It's more about leveraging, whereas Ramsey, at least the initial courses don't cover that. I think they cover that once you've proven that you can actually be responsible with your money.
Yeah.
Then they talk about all those other concepts.
Which that should, technically, from my point of view, that should come first. It's getting out of debt and learning how to manage your money wisely, right? And learning how to do what you just said, because with that, then you can get a credit card and discipline yourself, if you're disciplined to do it that way. But the principles that he holds, there are biblical principles, and they are principles like, get out of debt and be out of debt. When you're debt free, there's less stress. Yeah.
Well, the Bible's clear, right? Be in debt to no one, right? Like, and that's not saying that if people carry a mortgage that they're living in sin, but this is where I think the power of Kiyosaki's thinking is. He says that your home is not an investment. Like, it's not an asset unless it's paid off. And he even goes to say that even if you pay off your home or homes, they're not an asset. They're a liability.
Mm-hmm.
The only time they get out of the liability column is if you're generating income from that property or properties. And it's even worse if you don't even own it. Like, if you're paying a mortgage, you don't own the house. The bank owns the house. You're just lucky to live there because you're paying it on time.
Right.
People that are carrying mortgages and are not generating, because you can have a mortgage and generate income still, and you'll be on the less riskier side. But the truth is, if you're carrying a mortgage and you don't have the title, you're basically just fortunate that you can live in a house.
Yeah, it's like you're renting the house still
to the bank.
Right, to the bank, because you still have a loan, right? And it's like a car, right? It depreciates over time, because it starts depreciating. What do you got to do? You got to go and fix it, right? You got to fix the roof if there's a puka, or if your wall is cracked, or you got plumbing problems. All those things. That's liabilities, right?
Yeah.
Your house burned down, that's a liability, right? You got to get insurance for liability purposes, right? So technically, it's not an asset unless you own the land outright. And
nothing is an asset if there's no income coming
generated.
In.
Yeah.
If you have to pay something out on it every year, then it's a liability. Right. So if there's no income, if there's no income and it's taking money out of, then it's a liability.
It's funny because I was just talking about this. It just reminds me of a Hawaiian kingdom, right? Your land was technically your asset, because it was a place that you live, and it is also the place that you would produce what you needed for income. Right? Whether you bartered what was on your land for something else, or somebody paid you for it, you would still be able to live and thrive.
Do you think we'll ever head back to that? This is a multifaceted question, because my friend Journeyman on Twitter, on X, would probably have something to say about this, but there's a lot of people that are using their big brain power. I don't have any other word. Their business sense, and they're investing a lot of time, money, resources into. You can call it decentralized finance or Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it. But I think there's a time coming, because we live here. There's a time coming where those things won't matter, like how we think they should.
No, like I said, land is to us as a people, land and water is the most valuable thing.
Yeah, land and water.
They are the most valuable thing.
The people that live in the cities, when things go south, Hawaii is a good example. Hawaii is a perfect contrast with that, because if there's an emergency coming, if there's a storm coming, we're out of Spam and toilet paper. And water, bottled water too. It'll be gone within a week, because they can't keep up with that. And not only that, if the electricity goes out, the entire city of Honolulu, they're done.
But if you grew up camping, you know what to do.
But even sustainability, right? People that, like, another good example is chickens. Thank God, like, we can get eggs, like, just simple things like that. Like, people, and we have enough food. I think we have enough food to last us a month. We'd be scraping by, but I think we'll be okay for about a month.
It would be wise
maybe
for
longer.
you to get to know your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors. Maybe form a co-op. Something that you guys can do together. Like, we know our neighbors, right? But we're also creating together, right? Some agricultural stuff that would be beneficial for you and your neighbors, and you guys look out for each other, right? You look out for each other. You look out for, for your kids. Growing up, we had neighbors who always looked out for each other. Yeah, and like you said, my neighbor, hey, you better get out of my tree. I can tell your father, you don't belong in the tree. I stay all the way up in a tree, even though the thing was on a public sidewalk. He's like, you don't belong in that tree. You need to get down before you get hurt. And if you don't get out of the tree, I'm going to tell your father. Right? And that's my neighbor looking out for us, because, that tree was pretty high up. And I wasn't going to fall on, some soil or grass. I was going to fall on the road. It was concrete, right? If they seen somebody, coming around, hey, I saw somebody like walking around your house, today, or you go down the road, like somebody's grandma stuck on the side of the road, or, like our neighbors, us and our neighbors, everybody would help each other out. If a neighbor across the street was beating up his wife, my father would go across the street and go, hey, what you doing?
So TNT's in Florida. He says if anything goes south, he's headed to our house. Well,
sure.
Just leave the alligators and
don't bring your snakes.
Don't bring your snakes, and don't bring your your alligator. Don't bring the snakes, alligators. Don't bring any predatory animals. In this town where we live, there's a group. I'm a part of it, but I haven't checked on it. There's a Facebook group. I forget what it's got. I won't say it to protect their privacy, but there's a Facebook group that I'm a part of with Kenneth, and it's for the sole purpose of what you just said, like supporting one another. If things, because they're getting ready for the last presidency, they were getting ready for just, I don't even know the nice word, the poopies hitting they were really getting ready for that, because they were talking about, Kenneth showed me this water, what do you call it? This water transportation device that he created, where if you're up on a hill, he showed me the pumps and everything. And I was like, wow, that's really amazing. He says, yeah, because you got to figure out how you're going to get water. It's not like you have time to dig a well.
Yeah.
So he has this whole elaborate, and it was cool because there's these pumps that, suck water out of the river and takes it up to his, and this is theoretical. He didn't have it set up yet, but he showed me the equipment though. And I thought, okay, that's a good idea, because that's one of the things that's going to be a struggle, and being ready for that. I mean, the other thing is the planter box. He had these planter boxes. We talked about planter box, and we have the little greenhouse, and even in Hawaii when we had the vegetables, the chili peppers. To all of my to all of my carnivore, I don't have vegan friends. I don't think I have vegan friends. To all of my carnivore friends, here's what I'll say is, don't be so set on just eating what you eat, because I get it's for lifestyle, for health, and all that for a lot of people, but be able to eat other things, because
you got to be flexible.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you can't get beef, what you can do, eat grass. You gonna be the one eating the grass.
You gonna be the cow. That's funny. That's a funny picture. If you cannot eat beef, what you gonna eat? Grass.
But yeah, in all seriousness, like, I wanted to keep that pheasant, not the pheasant, but the quail. I said, "Oh, is the quail still in the garage?"
For people that don't know, my kids came with, "Dad, we have was it a quail?
Was a quail?
Dad, we have a quail in the garage." I'm like, okay, because I see them all the time. For people that don't know what a quail is, it's basically, I gotta figure out a funny way to say this. Quail are like
Roadrunner.
They're like micro chickens that don't have any beautiful feathers, but they have oh man, I'm trying to be careful because this is supposed to be a good show, but they look like a micro chicken that runs like the Roadrunner, but it's got this tiara on its head that these kids wear at pageants. It's got like this little micro crown, and it's kind of shimmery.
Yes, one feather,
like
a peacock feather that sticks up in the middle of the head.
And it doesn't fly unless it absolutely has to. But anyways, we had one of those in the garage. So I was thinking, if we catch it, I don't know how much meat, because they're kind of tiny. Yeah. Typically they're tiny. Not all of them, but that would be funny. I don't know how. I don't know if I could. Yeah, I don't know. Those birds are kind of cute. I don't mind eating them. I just don't know if I could kill it. It's like alpacas. Yeah, we should go to the alpaca farm.
It's like alpacas, right? Dad said that's what they were looking at. Bryson was looking at alpacas, but it was too small of a yard, and they actually need to be in threes.
They don't need that much space. They just need.
He said there's not enough room for 3 alpacas.
Oh yeah, okay, maybe. I guess so. Yeah, it depends what you feed them. Doug. So TNT says that quail reminds him of the cartoon Doug and the belt on his head. I guess so, yeah.
It's so funny. The first time I seen that, I was like, what in the world is that? And they all flock together, right? So there's like 10 of them all in a...
I'm really fighting really hard right now to not pull up my Theo Vaughn impressions of that, because he has some funny stuff about animals like quail. Yeah, I won't say it. I think quail are funny. They're funny.
Hey, if worse comes to worse, we're gonna lock up those quails.
They're funny creatures. It's funny because they've got the quail, and then the deer. I'll post a video up later on today. The deer.
They're pretty big.
No, it's not just that, but the deer looks like they're stressed, or they just came out of chemotherapy treatment or something.
Like they're feral.
No, like the one that I took. I swear, you look at him like, dude, you just
What's
come out
wrong
of
with your hair?
you just came out of chemo, man. His hair is like spotty. It's like, oh, I feel bad for him. I'm like, that could be why that could be that could be why the mountain lions don't eat him. He's probably like, dude, this guy looks sick to me. The mountain lion's like, oh, that
might give me a rash.
It might give me a heartburn. I've never seen deer that look like they came out of chemotherapy.
That's the most close up I've seen them, and I was telling Zoe.
Yeah, no, they've come close before. They came into the window.
Have they?
Yeah, he was right there.
Why? Because they wanted to eat something.
Yeah, because they eat. Yeah, whatever they. Yeah, we're going sideways on that one.
They're trying to eat our vegetables.
Anyways, fam, we're talking about generational mindsets and why that's important. I don't know why we talked about deer with cancers, but and gay quail. I don't know why we talked about that, but God's funny. God is an amazing artist. The animals He creates for us, But to get back on top, I will say that the generational um, the importance of having a generational mindset. I think whoever's listening today, I hope you got some value, but my heart and my passion is that if you're good at something, don't just do it for yourself. There's another part to it. There's actually an original quote that says, if you're good at something, never do it for free. But here's what I'll say to that. If you're good at something, never do it just for yourself. Right? Teach somebody, train somebody. If you got kids, obviously pass it on to your kids.
Start something now, you know. It's never too late. It's never too late.
Well, even with, you know, with Pastor Rory, who we're going to have as a guest, we didn't set a date yet, but, you know, with him talking about adoption and fostering kids, and what a great way to invest into the next generation.
Yeah.
Like, even if they don't become yours per se, they will always be connected to you.
We always had a problem growing up. I think it was in the 7th grade. We always had a problem. Like, there's a bunch of boys who just had problems. They had problems at home and stuff. And so the school created a boys and girls club, one. And they had, what do you call that? I don't know what it's called. Mentorship. I forget what you call them. Where a man would come, like we'd have military guys come in and mentor the boys. Like
big brothers, big sisters,
yeah,
kind of.
like that.
Yeah.
And that really helped those guys, because a lot of them were struggling at home, where the parents was going through a divorce or were divorced, and they didn't get to see their dad, or the dad got incarcerated, or whatever issues was going on at home, where there was drugs or whatever. There was a lot of them. And so they created that program, and it helped them to get better, because they had some sort of mentor, you know, somebody who could show them, you know, how to walk down the right, you know, do the right thing, walk down the right road, have respect, have self-respect as well. Yeah. But yeah, adoption,
or even fostering.
Yeah. That's a, you know, huge undertaking, but very fulfilling too.
Matthew 25. I want to make sure I put some grounding in today. So for anybody that wants a scriptural grounding, here you go. Matthew 25. I'll read this. I want to read it. I won't read the entire thing, but I do want to have some foundational elements to what we're talking about. Most of you guys might know this, and if you're not a believer or Christian, that's fine too. This is still a good principle. Matthew 25, and we'll read. I'll read verse 14. I'll start with 14. I'll paraphrase it. Well, it just talks about, you know, Jesus had these 3 servants, and so there are basically. I'm gonna try to shorten this. I'll just read it so it's easier. And let me change the version. I have it CEV. I'm going to read it out of the Passion. I like the Passion translation. So out of Matthew 25, verse 14, it says that heaven's kingdom is like a wealthy man who went on a long journey and summoned all of his trusted servants and assigned his financial management over to them. And before he left on his journey, he trusted a bag of 5,000 gold coins to one of his servants, to another a bag of 2,000 gold coins, and to the third a bag of 1,000 gold coins. Some of your versions may say talent, but we're using this version today. And each according to their ability to manage. And I'll do a very abbreviated version, but for those that had the 5,000, the 2,000, the 1,000, they all invested accordingly, except for the last guy, right? The last guy, he dug a hole. he stuck it in a hole. He's like, this bugger is gonna stay put. That's the guy that couldn't manage his credit card debt, right? But the other guys invested, right? And they had a return. And what I will encourage anybody that's watching is that don't be the guy that dug the hole in the ground. Like, it's just going to get. What happens to copper when it's just going to get patinaed? It's not gonna have any increase in value. But I will say to anybody that, whether you have a business or maybe you have a side hustle, my wife and we're in a new season where God's opening doors for us, and we're believing to walk through them. It's going to take a little bit of discipline, right? It's going to take some discipline for us to be where we know God wants us to be. But so I'll just say that, like, oh, hey, Sarah. Oh my gosh, I miss Sarah. Good to see you, Sarah. But here's what I'll say is that allow God to use you in such a way that if you are a person of influence, whether it's on social media, whether it's in your job, business, or in your kids, man, to use that, here's the word, I think it's reach, right? Use that reach to be of influence, right? To be able to pass that on and make the right investments in that area. So that's my scripture grounding for anybody that wants to, put it into
generational investments.
Yeah, generational investments. It's good to see you, Sarah, out there in Newfoundland, Canada. It's been a minute since we've seen her. Anything you want to drop before we play our fancy closing out video?
I do. Okay, so I was just reading this. This is Colossians 2, and we'll start at verse 2. It says, "My purpose is that they may be encouraged in heart and united in love, so that they may have the full riches of complete understanding, in order that they may know the mystery of God, namely Christ, in whom are hidden all treasures of wisdom and knowledge. I tell you this, so that no one may deceive you by fine-sounding arguments." If we need principles, right? Well, if we need principles, right? And understanding and wisdom is what you need as far in every aspect, right? Whether it's financially, whether it's applying, generationally, or if you're ending something, right? Like you're ending a generational pattern and you're beginning new healthy patterns, right? You need wisdom and understanding. If you're a believer in Christ, that's where we get it from, right? We get it from Jesus. And this is, to encourage those who even may be struggling with everything that we said, whether it's, your children, you're trying to break something off of you that's generational, if that you've operated in poverty for so long. And sometimes it's not even recognizable because it's something that your family has just done,
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Maybe that's why we don't have money, or that's why we have issues over here. God has the ability to change that up, right? If we seek, there's hidden treasure in God, right? Wisdom and understanding. And we need that to create healthy generational patterns and generational wealth, right?
Yeah.
If we seek his face and be found by him, we will be found by him, and he can help us in every area that we need help in. So, my encouragement is just keep pushing and keep pressing on, regardless of what it looks like. Because at the end of the day, when Jesus is your Lord, there's always movement, there's always change.
Yep.
There's always hope. And when you're done with the storm, I promise you can come out on the other side on top.
Sometimes the storm get hail.
Big kind of whack you in the head. Sometimes the thing hurt.
It's good to see you, Sarah. Sarah's she got a new phone.
Go ahead, Sarah.
She got the iPhone 22. She came back from the future. Yeah, sometimes the storm, right? Sometimes the storm brings hail. Sometimes it brings strong winds. Sometimes it brings just unfavorable weather. But as Jesus, right, just his voice spoke to the wind, right? Basically, the wind was like, okay, I'll shut up now. Right?
Basically, yeah.
And the wind's like, okay, I'll shut up now. But that's a good place to land. You good?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take you off cam. Thank you guys for hanging out. I think we covered what I felt led to cover. There's obviously a lot more things that sometimes when we do these, there's a lot more things that are in the tank. There's a lot of things that didn't make the cut because it's probably not good to bring out. But here's what I'll say, just to encourage anybody that's listening or watching, that man, God wants to bless you. He truly does. You're good. I muted you, honey. And he really wants to bless you. And if it's just you, that's fine. But be a blessing to other people. Deuteronomy 7, it just says that, therefore, know that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God who keeps covenant and mercy for 1,000 generations for those who love him and keep his commandments. So we'll leave it with that. And thank you to everybody that joined us either live, or if you're in the replay, or if you're going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, we'd appreciate you guys hanging out and spending your time with us. If you enjoy this, do me a favor, like, repost, share it out. Give us a review if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts. We appreciate it all. Thank you for your time, your heart, super heart, your data, all the good stuff. We just hope that exchange of your time for this was worth it. So from the bottom of my heart, my wife and our kids, our family, we love you guys. God bless you guys. Hui ho, aloha, and mahalo. Yes, sir. Chihu.